Hello and welcome to your ribcage and pelvic breathing tutorial. We are going to use the imagery of a balloon in both the ribcage and the pelvic bowl to help us get a sense of this 360-degree global expansion of these areas of the body as we breathe. We're going to be paying attention to the movement of the respiratory diaphragm and the pelvic floor, in addition to those balloons. The respiratory diaphragm and the muscles of the pelvic floor move in tandem as we breathe. As we inhale, the respiratory diaphragm widens and descends down, the pelvic floor muscles lengthen, and the bowl deepens. As we exhale, the pelvic floor muscles lift, shortening and doming up toward the abdomen as the respiratory diaphragm lifts and domes toward the skull. As we inhale, both the diaphragm and the pelvic floor muscles move down, and as we exhale, they both lift back up. Sometimes the movement of the pelvic floor isn't happening like we want it to as we breathe. These muscles may be holding excess tension or for other reasons aren't moving well as we breathe. So this practice, this tutorial, is designed to help you get both your diaphragm and your pelvic floor muscles moving well as you breathe. So we're going to start with ribcage breath because in order for the pelvic floor muscles to move as we breathe, we need the respiratory diaphragm to be moving as we breathe. So we're going to start here and then we're going to move to the pelvis. You may breathe in an upright position with your hips higher than your knees. You can also choose to be in constructive rest or a corpse pose on your backside or in crocodile pose on your front side. Those postures down on the ground will likely be more useful in helping you feel the movement of your pelvic floor muscles because you don't have to hold yourself upright. So get comfy and supported as you're ready. You can quiet your eyes. We're going to first bring attention into the rib cage. Let's imagine a balloon in the rib cage. As you inhale, your rib cage balloon inflates and your whole rib cage expands globally. Then as you exhale, your whole rib cage hugs inward as your rib cage balloon deflates. As you inhale, your rib cage balloon inflates, your whole rib cage expands in all directions. As you exhale, your rib cage balloon deflates and your whole rib cage hugs inward. As you inhale, rib cage balloon inflates, your whole rib cage effortlessly expands to the front, to the back, to your sides, up and down. As you exhale, all of those areas of expansion now hug inward. Let's bring some attention to the diaphragm. As you inhale, your rib cage balloon inflates, your rib cage expands, and your diaphragm moves down toward your pelvis. As you exhale, your respiratory diaphragm lifts and domes toward your skull as your rib cage balloon deflates and your whole rib cage hugs inward. Continue like this. Now we're going to bring attention to the pelvic bowl. Imagine a balloon in your pelvis. As you inhale, your pelvic balloon inflates, your whole pelvic bowl expands. As you exhale, your pelvic balloon deflates and your whole pelvic bowl hugs inward. As you inhale, your pelvic bowl expands, the muscles at the base of your pelvic bowl, your pelvic floor muscles lengthen, and it feels like your bowl deepens. Then as you exhale, those pelvic floor muscles lift and dome toward your abdomen as your pelvic bowl hugs inward and your pelvic balloon deflates. Continue like this. As you inhale, your whole pelvic bowl expands and your pelvic bowl deepens as those pelvic floor muscles lengthen down toward the ground or toward your heels. Then as you exhale, your pelvic floor muscles, like a trampoline, lift and dome toward your abdomen as your pelvic bowl hugs inward. One more breath like this. As you inhale, feel the expansion of pelvic bowl, or you're imagining it. Feel the deepening of your pelvic bowl, or you're imagining it. Then as you exhale, all of those areas of expansion now hug inward and upward. We're going to add both rib cage and pelvis together. As you inhale, your rib cage balloon inflates, your pelvic balloon inflates, rib cage and pelvic bowl expand. As you exhale, pelvic balloon deflates, pelvic bowl hugs inward, rib cage balloon deflates, and rib cage hugs inward. As you inhale, feel rib cage expand, your diaphragm descend, your pelvic bowl expand, your pelvic floor muscles lengthen down. And then as you exhale, all of those areas of expansion hug inward. Pelvic floor muscles lift and dome toward your abdomen as your rib cage hugs in and your diaphragm lifts and domes toward your skull. Continue just like this, breathing deeply in a way that invites expansion of whole body, rib cage, pelvic bowl. There is no intentional effort needed with pelvic breathing, so we're not bearing down with the inhalation, nor are we intentionally contracting or lifting up with the exhalation. Those movements will happen when we're breathing deeply, but we don't need to put any extra effort into them. Take 2 more breaths here, 2 more rib cage and pelvic balloon breaths, feeling the expansion and the dance of your diaphragm and pelvic floor muscles as you breathe. As you're ready, you may widen your eyes. I encourage you to practice pelvic breathing, rib cage and pelvic breathing throughout your day. We want the muscles of the pelvic floor to be moving with every breath we take. Depending on our posture and activity, what we're doing, those muscles are going to vary in the amount of movement they have as we breathe. But what we do want is our breath to be influencing the base of our pelvic bowl, to be influencing the expansion of our pelvic bowl. So, happy pelvic breathing.